It's time for the percolator. 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 It's time for.
Welcome to the downtown studios of Cranford, New Jersey, here at the Commissioner's Cove. Alongside of me is my man, Maíz Ku, 13th Legion, and I am the Commissioner, Ricky Let Me Down, where we come together and bring our fancy insight, fancy information, try to give you guys a little insight, what to do, or who to start, who not to start, who temper your expectations, and who we feel as though is going to help you ride into the fantasy football playoffs. So this is week number 14. So do me a favor. You guys sit back, relax, drink your little cafecito, smoke your little cigar, drink your little bourbon or your whiskey, and listen to two distinguished gentlemen talk about fantasy football, which we enjoy to do. Sir, it's been a while. It's been tough. It's been tough getting together. You went away on league business.
Yes.
It's been really, really difficult, our schedules, to get together and put together a show. We do apologize. But we're here, week number 14. The fantasy football playoffs start next week, and this is it. This is the make or break week for you guys. Either you win or you're in, or you made the playoffs. Congratulations to all those teams that made it. The first round bye, guys. You guys should just relax over there. You can just smoke your little cigar.
Sit back and relax.
Sit back, relax.
Yeah.
You can drink your little cafecito during this week, during Sunday's game. But some of us are not. Some of us are sweating a little bit. So let's get into this program. Who we feel as though who you should start and temper your expectations. And there's a lot of stuff that went on. Week 13. There's a lot of injuries that occurred. There's a lot of injuries that guys are questionable or doubtful. They may sit. They may not sit. It is really, really. Hurting your fantasy team on who to start for this week.
Yeah, well, it didn't start easy for a lot of teams out there with injuries, and it's not going to end easy, obviously, too, with a lot of injuries.
No, it's not. So I hope you guys picked up your handcuffs like we talked about in the pre-draft in the summertime on your draft strategies. You always got to pick up your handcuffs because if someone gets injured, it's a wrap.
Commish, we had a show.
Yep.
We talked about some of the more high-profile RBs that you should handcuff.
And
not everyone needed a handcuff, but the whole the high-profile ones did.
Oh, yeah.
It's on them.
Yep. All right. Obviously, the Packers and the Lions played already. Let's talk about real quick about the Packers and the Lions, even though they played. Jordan Love hasn't been getting the passing volumes at all. Josh Jacobs has been running through the whole league for the most part. 3 touchdown games. I mean, if you're a Josh Jacobs owner, God bless you. Hopefully that continues for you. And I'm a Jordan Love owner, so I would hope he passes a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's going to occur because it seems as though their game plan is to run the ball. Why would they stop something that's helping out the team and go to something that may not help out the team? Okay, especially with Romeo Doubs being out. Christian Watson, a couple of dropsies here and there, but he's good for a long bomb. And then Dontavian Wicks is not doing that well. And Jaden Reed, I mean, he really was a spoiler this week with 1 point or 1 catch or so.
No, he had 0.
Oh, 0. All right.
He had 1 target.
I mean, that's not game planning towards this guy at all whatsoever. The Lions are the Lions, all right? We noticed we talked about this. The 2 running backs, it seems as though, let's just say the bell cow back usually gets, 25 carries, 20 carries or so. Well, guess what? They're splitting 50-50. You got 15 carries for one, 14 carries for one. And they're both coming up with the same type of productivity, which is fantastic for you guys. You got some owners that are starting Montgomery and Gibbs on the same team. That's ballsy. But you know what? It's working for them. They're doing well.
Yeah, we know someone. Yeah. I believe he's 10-2.
Yeah, and the one I'm a little nervous about is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
10-3.
Am I right or wrong? Amon-Ra. I'm a little nervous.
I'm not nervous about him. He's been it depends on what your thinking is.
Yeah,
he's still, I believe, he's top 5 wide receiver in the league. All right. Is he performing? Is he giving you wide receiver 1 numbers every week? No, but he's consistently giving you high wide receiver 2 numbers, which I guess in the world of fantasy football, if you're going to get consistent production, you're going to take.
Oh, yeah.
The last 3 weeks, I'm an Amon-Ra owner. The last 3 weeks, I've gotten 12, 12, and 10. That's not inspiring confidence. And if I was trying to make the playoffs,
Yeah.
then I would be
You'd be
worried.
a little nervous. Yeah.
But I'm already in there. So I'm not worried right now. I'm hoping that this is going to be hey, let's save it up for the playoffs and come out with a big game. That's what I'm hoping. And we'll see what happens. But he's giving you exactly what you drafted him for.
All right. Laporta, again, Laporta isn't, he might be there aren't many tight ends giving you tight end 1 numbers, but you know what? He might be a tight end 2, and he's still getting some looks in there, and he's a must start as well.
Just to you listen to other people talk about Amon-Ra and Breece Hall, and they're like they're labeling almost as busts because of where you took them. You took them in the first round. But you want to know something? You got to be happy with what they got. They're still top. All right, he's not giving you 30 points a game, right? Amon-Ra, for example. But he's still a top 3 wide receiver in the league. No one else, only 2 other people probably have outscored him this year. Breece Hall, he's still top 10. So it's going to be hard to say that they were busts.
Well, Breece Hall, we'll get to him in the next game. All right, so that's with the Packers and the Lions game. So let's talk about the next game on the docket here. The Jets versus Miami. It's in Miami, 76 degrees. We all know Miami can't play in the cold weather. Everyone knows it. They can't play. They can't beat a team that's physical. Miami needs to win to make the playoffs or help to make the playoffs, but they have to win. They can't afford to lose. So I think they're going to pull out all the they're going to pull everything out, even the kitchen sink. They're going to throw out the Jets here. Tua plays well in the warm weather. We know that. He's been playing well. I think you start Tua with confidence. Jalen Waddle, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Jalen Waddle. Does he have a big game? Does he have a look? Who knows? If you have someone else better out there to start, I would suggest start somebody else over Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's a big name. He has a chance to blow up, obviously. But if you're gonna have a guy like, let's just say, Calvin Ridley against the Jaguars or Jalen Waddle against the Jets secondary, quote unquote, is a good secondary. You might have to go with Ridley out there.
Well, let's back that up. 1, Sauce Gardner's not playing probably.
Yeah. But
2, the Jets defense is banged up. 3, you just said Mike McDaniel's going to be throwing out the kitchen sink, right? They need this win to help them make the playoffs.
The problem is, he's going to open it up, but Waddle for some reason is not the person that he's going to open up the floodgates for. I think
yes, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about would you start Ridley or Waddle over each other, right? So you know what? I
think I would start Ridley.
I would start Waddle.
Okay.
All right. And Tyreek's not carrying an injury designation coming into the game.
He's going to play.
The other 2 running backs, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of Jalen Wright. I know you've been hoping on hope all year for it, but Mostert's not going away, even though he's a little banged up. But he's been playing banged up all year. So we're going to see a lot of the other running backs.
Achane.
Devon Achane is going to probably get the same thing that he's gotten. You'll probably see a lot more of Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm. Those are the guys. With the Jets, Breece Hall is nursing an injury. He's doubtful. I'm not sure if he plays this week. Braylon Allen, hopefully you got his Breece Hall's backup with.
Yes, we were just talking about that.
Yep,
You're right.
Braylon Allen's one of them we talked about in the offseason. If he starts against Miami Dolphins, vanilla defense, okay, that's how I call it, vanilla. They miss a lot of tackles, and Braylon Allen's a big boy. So Braylon Allen might be the guy to start there if Hall does not play, and I believe you started with confidence. The 2 wide receivers, Miami secondary, I know Will Fuller is back. He cleared concussion protocol. He's going to be lined up opposite of Ramsey. So you're going to have the 2 starting cornerbacks out there. Doesn't matter. I mean, Wilson's a top, 10 wide receiver. He's not producing, but he is a good wide receiver. And Devontae Adams, they're going to feed him the ball. So those are the guys to start on the Jets. Anything? No?
No, you and I spoke about this off air, and the question was, how much do you trust Braylon Allen if Breece doesn't play? If Breece does, if for whatever reason he plays, you don't trust any running back in the Jets. But if Breece Hall does sit, how much do you think Braylon Allen's going to get? And would you start him over people like Tyrone Tracy? And
no.
I think we came to the conclusion that you would start Tyrone Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy, you start. All right. All right. Next game is going to be the Falcons at the Vikings. The Falcons are spiraling out of control here. Okay, they're spiraling out of control. They're already calling for the head of Kirk Cousins, and they want to see their young rookie, which is Michael Penix, and I'm all for it. Let's see what we got. I know you're not. I know they're not going to sit him. I understand that, but I'm all for it. That's all I'm saying. The Falcons, Drake London, he's still feeding Drake London the ball. Drake London is the guy to feed there. Ray McLeod, if you have him, you're not starting him, especially if it's a must-win. He's not the guy. Darnell Mooney, again, if you have someone better and you have to win this game, I don't think you start Darnell Mooney.
Well, don't forget, Kamish, we got 6 teams on a bye this week. So Mooney, you got to evaluate him a little differently.
Yeah, but I'm saying is if you have usually teams are on a cusp of needing a win and you're in, usually you have someone, a depth chart. You have somebody on your bench. Usually you do. Usually. If not, you could pick someone off the waiver wire. Well, I hope you did. Waiver wire, Elijah Moore, Nikina. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
I would still,
Nick Westbrook.
Nick Westbrook and Kine. But I would still start Mooney over him. And over Elijah Moore.
All right, that's on you.
It is on me.
I wouldn't do it against the Vikings
to the
defense. Okay, we're gonna reevaluate this next week, and we'll see. Well, I'll call him after Sunday or during the Sunday games. We'll see, but I don't think he gets the volume over there. Kyle Pitts, I don't know, against the Vikings defense. They're going to be going after Kirk Cousins. Maybe a couple of dump-off passes there. We'll see. Maybe. It's a big maybe. We don't know. They don't utilize Kyle Pitts much.
They don't do the dump-off passes to him in a good game.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you have him and you have someone else, a guy you could pick up, maybe someone like Tommy Tremble to start over Kyle Pitts, or Gesicki can start over Kyle Pitts, or Jawan Johnson over Kyle Pitts if he's still on the waiver wire out there for you guys. Someone like that.
Crazy to think that we're sitting here in
but it's
week
true.
14 and talking about Kyle Pitts as a guy behind all those 3 that you just mentioned.
But it's true.
Yes, it is. That's just amazing.
We have to look at the trend here. Bijan. I don't know. Bijan did well. I guess weeks, I believe, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12. He was a beast, a monster. He really hasn't stepped up in the last couple of weeks.
Well, the Falcons, as an entirety of an offense, have struggled the last few weeks. So,
So again, the Vikings defense, you're gonna have to obviously you're gonna start Bijan Robinson, but you know what? They're playing the Vikings, which is a good defense in Minnesota. Okay, Minnesota's trying to fight for that. I believe they're trying to fight for a playoff spot or possibly a first-round bye. You know what I mean?
They're still fighting for a bye. They're still fighting for the division title.
Yeah, they're
because Detroit won, and I think the Vikings are right behind them, and then the Packers were behind them. Vikings only have 2 losses, so this is a very must-win game for them.
Yep. With the Minnesota Vikings, you want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings? Because I know people are frustrated with Justin Jefferson. Very, very frustrated. How many touchdowns did he have this year? 1? 2?
I don't know.
I believe it's 2.
And the fact that we could sit here and say we don't know exemplifies what you just said. I don't know what's going on with Jefferson. They're definitely not
featuring him,
right?
Yeah.
Addison, Hawkinson, have they struggled? No. Have they been winning? Yes.
The defense is pretty much carrying them sometimes,
But when we talked about the Packers and we talked about how they're not letting Jordan Love throw the ball down the field like 40 times a game, 45 times a game, but they keep winning. If they keep winning, then you got to go with what's working for you. And I think that's what's happening with Minnesota. They don't have to force anything to Jefferson. I'm sure when the time comes, they're going to know that he's there. He's going to be there. But right now they're playing what's available, what's open.
Yeah. So
not good for fantasy.
Not good for fantasy. But if the owners out there or the people listening out there in the fantasy world want to start some, obviously you're starting Jeff. So you started Addison this week against the Falcons with a must-win this week. Must-win for a bye or to get into the playoffs. This is it.
Well, again, it's going to depend on who you have out there, but he's definitely a low-end wide receiver too. And I say start him.
Let's assume, again, like I said, let's assume that everybody who needs to win to get in has a bench. For the most part, I would assume that everybody who needs to win, besides the buys, I'm saying.
I understand that, Kamish, but you're giving me a scenario without telling me who's on my bench, who's on my team. Now, if I'm starting, if you give me examples like you have Addison, you have Ladd McConkey, or you have I don't know. Give me another guy, Darnell Mooney, but he's more of a wide receiver.
All right,
3.
Darnell Mooney.
No, I'm starting Addison over Darnell Mooney.
Okay.
And then, let's see. Am I starting Tank Dell over Addison? No. Am I starting Brian Thomas?
Are you starting Wilson, Garrett Wilson over Addison, knowing that the volume he hasn't been getting the last couple of weeks?
I would have to put, on paper, you're going to put Garrett Wilson ahead of Addison, but in this game, the scenarios,
Mhm.
I would pick Addison.
Yeah. Think about that. That's crazy. So someone like that.
But you said it yourself. The Falcons have become, they're falling apart. They're going to need this game. People are going to be fighting for, reputations here. Coaching. I'm not saying Raheem Morris is under coaching a hot seat,
Well,
but you can't keep losing. There's questions that need to be answered.
And people are paying for contracts. You have some
Yes.
people that are free agents after this year, and they're playing for contracts.
That is absolutely correct.
All right. So the Vikings get their kicker back. Okay, they get their kicker back. Okay. So he's someone to take a look at because they're kicking in the dome, and he does get a lot of field goal opportunities there. All right, the next game. The Saints at the New York Football Giants. Partly cloudy, 50 degrees on Sunday. It's been cold. It's been cold in New Jersey and New York around this area. But, 50 degrees isn't bad. 3% chance of rain, not a big deal. The Giants, they're going to start, Mr.
Drew Lock.
They're going to start Lock again?
Yes.
All right, so if they start Drew Lock again, I know Neighbors is nursing an injury. Is that correct? He is?
A hip pointer.
Yeah.
Along with the groin.
I think he plays.
I think he plays too, but you got to temper expectations.
Yeah.
Which just sucks because
Yeah.
if you're using him because you need to get in,
Yeah.
you have to throw him out there because
Yeah.
he's Malik Neighbors. But it sucks because you're thinking he's not going to get you what he normally would.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, Tyrone Tracy, I'm a Tyrone Tracy owner. I like the kid. We talked about this as well. They need to start featuring him a little bit. The offense got to go through the running back with the passes out the backfield. All right, they can't keep forcing the ball down the field with Drew Lock because the 3 and outs are just crushing the Giants. They're not getting a rhythm with the offense. No, they don't utilize their tight end. Wan'Dale Robinson. How are we looking with Wan'Dale Robinson?
Let's start from the beginning with this. This is the 100th season of the New York Giants, and there's a chance that they don't even win a game in their division this year. This could be one of their worst seasons ever in their 100 years of existence.
Preach, Cole.
So,
preach.
Dayball, you can say whatever you want.
Might be fired.
I know
Playing for his
that
job.
the Maras have said that he's going to be retained, but you never know. They said the same thing about Joe Judge.
Yeah,
And then 2 weeks later, he was fired.
sure was.
So Dayball, I don't care what anyone else says, is playing for his coaching life in New York.
So you're saying unleash the running back?
He's gonna whatever is gonna work this week. He's gonna have to do, whether it's featuring Malik, who's a little injured, or even using us as a decoy to not put 8 men in the box with New Orleans focusing on a very. I don't want to say he's not a young quarterback, Drew Lock, but he's not. He's definitely a backup. He might be a third string. You're gonna have to rely on your run game. So it would behoove him, I think, to make sure that Tracy is involved
I totally agree.
early and continually. I know that Malik Neighbors last week got the oily wheel gets the squeaky
I
wheel
think
gets
it
the oil.
continues. I think it continues.
I don't say you zero him out and have no targets in the entire first half like a couple of weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
but it just can't be all about Malik Neighbors. New Orleans is going to know that, so they're going to have to balance it out. There's going to have to be a good all-around game. It's in New York. It's New York, New Jersey. It's in the Meadowlands. I could see the Giants squeaking out a win here, but it's going to have to be a Tyrone Tracy type of show.
Agreed. All right, with the Saints, obviously they're decimated with injuries. No update on Chris Olave. Nothing. I can't find anything at all. He's eligible to come back week 15, which I hope he does, and I hope he plays. Because I am an owner of Olave. I think the kid still has some football in him. Obviously, they got to protect him with his head injury, so we'll see what happens. Kamara's going to get featured here a lot. All right, kind of scares me a little bit. Happy that he's going to get featured, okay, because I have him during the fantasy playoffs. I'm in our dynasty league. However, a lot of volume is a opportunity to get injured. So I mean, you can't think like that, but we all think like that, and you guys think like
You
that
gotta
as well.
stop being a glass
the
half
truth.
empty guy.
You guys think about that as well. Every time the guy goes down, we hope he doesn't come up limping. All right. So, hey, I say feed him the ball. No Hill. Okay. MVS. MVS is gonna give you that long bomb, possible touchdown. They're gonna have to feature someone. Jawan Johnson, what we talked about, a streaming tight end. I think
Listen, the Giants are susceptible to a
Yeah.
deep bomb. I could see MVS getting one off there. And,
Yeah.
and to go back to answer your question about what do I think about Wandell, if Malik Neighbors is going to be more of a decoy out there, yeah, look for Wandell and Darius Slayton for the deep balls.
Yeah. So again, I'm not sure if you start Wandell or Darius Slayton in a must-win game, but if there's no one out
That's
there,
a tough play.
Yes.
If that's your option.
if there's no one else out there and your guys are injured or there's bye weeks, then you're gonna have to look at that. All right, you're gonna have to dig deep in your soul. All right, look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Are we really doing this?" And then close your eyes, put him in the starting lineup, and pray, and just pray. Again, with the Saints, Derek Carr. Obviously, he is a viable quarterback out there. I've won championships with Derek Carr. We know that, correct? At the end of the year. He might give you 2 touchdowns this week. You know, I don't know if they air it out. If they focus on stopping Kamara and they force him to throw the ball, he will air it out. I'm not saying the wide receivers are going to do that well, but again, the focal points here, I think, are going to be the tight end Johnson. I think it's going to be MVS. You might get a couple of plays here with Dante Pettis, okay, maybe with Cedric Wilson, but those guys are not startable. Kamara, the tight end, and MVS if you're really, really hurting.
Yes, and on the Giants side, just to clear it up, is it'll be Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
if you
it.
have to in a pinch, Wandell.
Yeah. All right, next game is the Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles here. 52 degrees, no chance of precipitation at all, no rain. So it's going to be in Philadelphia. The Panthers have been playing well. They've been playing well. On Bryce Young, it looks like something clicked and the light bulb went off. I'm not saying he's going to beat the Eagles, but you know what? He's playing okay. Fantasy-wise, fantasy relevance-wise, I'm not saying you're going to start Bryce Young, but he is feeding some balls to the wide receivers.
The team as a whole has turned it around.
Yeah, they
and
have.
They've been very spirited.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they did against a pretty good defense with Kansas City.
Yeah, exactly.
The Eagles have a good defense also.
They have a good defensive front, defensive tackles, very, very well. You temper expectation. Chuba Hubbard, let's talk about him. Obviously, you're going to start him. He carried you guys to get to where you are right now in the playoffs or trying to make the playoffs. He has carried a lot of teams all year long. The problem I'm having with Chuba Hubbard, I'm not saying you're not going to start him. You're going to start him. The problem I have is now they want to throw out Jordan Brooks out there. So it's taken away a little bit from Chuba Hubbard.
Jonathan Brooks was always going to get some run this year. Everyone knew that.
Well,
And we also made a comment, if you remember, there is no such thing as a stud running back anymore.
No.
We would like to have one, but most teams don't.
But he
do
was. He was when this guy was injured. That's my point.
that. Yes, but Miles Sanders was there to spell him a little bit. But you're right. For the most part, it
This
was all
guy gets
Chuba Hubbard.
he gets more run than
But
Miles
Jonathan
Sanders.
Brooks hasn't been running the ball that often.
It was his first game. So I just
So I wouldn't worry. Chuba Hubbard went up against a good defense. Don't forget, Kansas City's run defense is still one
It's
of the
number
best.
one.
Right, it's one of the
number
best
one in the
ones in the league. You could expect Chuba not to have a great game.
But this is the Eagles now. That's
You
what
would
I'm
expect
saying.
them to have a better game then.
I don't know about that. Running wise, different. Throwing. I think you could throw on the Eagles, even though they have the 2 cornerbacks out there. They're playing very, very well. Okay. That being said, Thielen's been getting featured a lot this game, this time around. So, fantasy playoffs, gotta get in. Okay. I'm saying you're throwing Thielen out there with a little bit of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, but yes.
Yes.
You got to go with the experience.
You're gonna go with the experience.
And not only that, but you got to go with the experience of Bryce Young to Thielen going back to last year.
That's correct.
And that
He feels
plays a big
comfortable.
part of it.
Yep.
Exactly, yes.
All right. Again,
The other guy that I would look for in Carolina if he plays is Sanders, the tight end, Jatavius Sanders.
He is playing. He is playing. It came out yesterday. He is going to play. However,
There was a connection building there before he went out.
but you got Tommy Tremble came in. He got 8 targets. I know it was only one game, but he got 8 targets.
I know you were talking about Tremble, but Sanders is their guy.
I understand that.
All right. When you don't have Sanders out there, you go to a guy like Tremble.
All right, so we'll see what happens. We'll see how he utilizes tight end. Now, obviously, I think they're going to be down. They're going to be throwing the ball. Thielen is the man out there. Chuba Hubbard, Thielen. No, I don't think you play Bryce Young. I think he comes back down to earth a little bit. But those are the only people you kind of start out there for your fantasy run. A fantasy got to get in, okay, into the playoffs. The Eagles, obviously, hello. Like a good neighbor, Saquon is there. You started with confidence. You know what I mean?
A lot of people who are invested in Eagles players fantasy wise are a little disappointed, but it's because of Saquon.
Yeah, it's been Saquon. So AJ Brown has been taking a hit this year. No touchdown. We know when he gets in the red zone, AJ Brown disappears. All right, because all of a sudden, poof, here comes Saquon and Jalen Hurts.
It's funny because in the preseason we spoke about their offensive coordinator, and he does not throw.
We said that.
Yes.
We did. We said he's not going to throw it in the red zone.
Right, and it's either been Saquon or it's been Jalen Hurts.
We sure did. Because
and you and I spoke about there was, I believe, 9 touchdowns that Saquon got vultured from him, basically from Hurts.
Because I think the coordinator's he goes analytic-wise, and he feels as though analytic-wise it's safer. It's a high percentage play, running the ball or running with the quarterback with the tush-push. And
it's been working. You can't argue.
Yeah,
Again, fantasy-wise, who might be upset about it, but real life-wise, the Eagles are fighting for that playoff home field.
Yeah, the first round bye, home field advantage, and Mr. Devontae Smith. I got to be honest with you. I'm not confident. I'm not confident. If I have a better option out there,
I would start Addison over Devontae.
There you go. Good call. Good call. Way to pick that up. Yeah, Addison.
Thanks, I don't do much, but when I do something, it's quality.
Addison over Smith. That's a perfect example. I will start Addison over Smith. Something like that. Okay, good. All right. So those are the players over there. And obviously, Goddard is hurt. I'm not starting the other tight end. So tight ends are out, which is good for A.J. Brown. Running back, we all know who he is. He's going to be the MVP. The running back 1 and 2 to King Henry's running back 2. To his 1 and 1A. All right, next game on the docket is going to be the Browns versus the Steelers.
Rematch game from a couple weeks ago in the snow.
Yes, 44 degrees.
Yeah, no snow today.
No snow. So it's going to be perfect conditions for a football game. I think the Steelers come out hungry this time around. They're going to avenge that loss in the snow in Cleveland. Cleveland was talking a lot of smack. They were talking a lot of smack. You know what I mean? They'll do snow angels and I know
it's a division game.
I got it.
Heated rivalries.
I got it. But I think the Steelers win this game. I think the Steelers come out firing. I think their defense is going to try to go after Winston hard. Winston throws in this game, I believe, 40, 45 times this game. Their run game has been obsolete. Chubb, I don't know. He hasn't been looking like he hasn't looked Chubb-esque. All year since he came back. Ford. They're starting Ford. They're giving Ford a little bit more burn than Chubb. Okay, they are. Everyone sees it. We see it. Okay, but just Ford is just doesn't. It's just not it. Okay, so
they're really not focusing on the run game, and their offensive line has been banged up, and that's a big reason why.
So again, I think Winston throws the ball here 45 times. Winston is a quarterback to start. It's a must win for you. He is that guy. That's the volume. I'll give you an example. Man, if I had Winston and I had a win, I got to really think about Winston or Jordan Love.
That's a good point. I don't know if you would start Winston.
I would have
Jordan
to think
Love,
about
but
it.
You'd be thinking about it.
Yes, I have to think about it.
I mean, you're going to count on Winston to probably get you 4 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions.
But that's okay. That's okay. It's absolutely okay when you're throwing the ball 45 times. So the players for the Cleveland Browns, obviously Jerry Jeudy, I don't think he gives you 256 yards because the Steelers defense is a little bit better than that. Okay, they're not just they know they want to go after him, which goes back to my point. No Cedric Tillman's going to be in the game, so I think they're gonna throw the ball around to Njoku, Elijah Moore. I keep saying Mitchell Moore. And Jerry Jeudy are going to feed him the ball. They're going to try to run the ball. They can't run the ball. And he's going to have to get the ball out of his hands fast because that defensive front, it gets after the quarterback too fast.
Yeah, so were you saying Njoku might have a good game?
Njoku has a good game as well. Yeah. So you got Njoku, Elijah Moore has a decent game. Jerry Jeudy's not going to have a monster game, but you got to start if he's a must start. Okay, those are the guys with the Browns. And with the Steelers, Mr. Pickens came up on the injury report. Did you see that? Came up with a little hamstring injury. I think he plays, but you have to monitor that. because that hamstring, we all talked about the soft tissue injuries. It's cold. It's cold out there. Okay, so just just think about that. Just take a look at the injury reports, especially with Mr. George Pickens, and let's just
Well,
say,
that just tells me they're going to try to run the ball more.
there you go. You got the 2 running backs out there. Najee's he gets a lot of volume, so I think you start Najee Harris. The Browns' defense isn't what it was last year, so
No.
they don't scare me anymore at all.
I think you got to look at Jalen Warren because last week against Cincinnati, he
Jalen
showed
Warren.
that he was catching the ball a lot
Yep.
more. So I think they're going to look to incorporate or keep that going.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy to keep everyone honest on the
Freiermuth?
Browns is going to be Calvin Austin. He can stretch the field.
But do you start Calvin Austin in your must-win game? Must-win.
No, we're
This is must-win. We're talking. This segment is about must-win. Who you must start.
we are also talking about 6 teams on a bye, and we're talking about wide receiver 3 flex positions. And if you got a guy like Calvin, you might have to consider him.
Right. Huh. All right.
That's a chance.
It's a chance. Are you gonna roll?
And again, it depends on what you have as a roster.
Yeah, I think, like I've always said,
But just keep him. You're gonna have to. You have no choice but to keep him in mind.
yeah, and you're gonna have to make tough decisions.
This is not going to be Van Jefferson.
No,
And who else do they have? Oh, Mike Williams.
no, no.
Exactly.
No.
Even though Tomlin did come out and say that.
Nah, I don't care what he said. They lie.
Okay.
They
All right.
lie. They all lie. They lie. That's BS. They lie. All right. Next game. The Raiders at the Buccaneers. At Tampa. It's clear. 72 degrees. Beautiful weather. This is nice weather. This is nice. You got Baker Mayfield. Okay, he's playing against the Raiders. The Raiders, they've been playing some inspiring football lately. They really have. They've been playing some decent, inspiring football. They can score.
You know, again, they came back against KC.
My point to you is they can score. Don't sleep on the Raiders because it's the Raiders' defense. O'Connell did well last week against KC. He was airing the ball out. And what do they have to lose? Who cares? Leave it all on the field. And they're playing for next year. Don't forget, these guys are playing. They want because
I know
they,
it's funny because last year they were doing the same thing.
Well-
Playing for Antonio Pierce, playing for next year.
it's all right.
Now next year came and they're doing it again.
That's okay. We don't care about how they play, right? We just want fantasy points. That's all we care about. Speaking about the Raiders, O'Connell, I don't know. I don't think you start him in your fantasy must win this week to get into the playoffs. I don't think so whatsoever. We talked about this. Do you start Sincere McCormick this week against the Buccaneers? Wow, this is a big one because I'm faced with that situation.
Yeah, it's
here.
funny how we always talk about players that you.
Yeah, well, you do too, but because it's something we all have to think about. Do you start Sincere McCormick? You know, everyone picked him off the waiver wire. Okay.
Listen, just like I told you off air, you have to start him. 6 teams on a bye. There's not a lot of good quality running backs out there. You have to start him. Even if he's your RB2, you're starting him.
Sincere McCormick or Gus Edwards?
McCormick.
Big.
And I say that because Gus Edwards is going against KC this week.
A tough defense.
Right. And I think that KC's weakness isn't their run defense, it's their pass defense.
Yeah.
Which that's where Justin Herbert was going to have to take advantage of. Gus Edwards isn't going to do it. He doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield.
Nope.
You might see more of a Kamani Vidal. We'll get to that game later on, but they haven't really utilized him. But
Yeah.
this might be the game that they have to use him. But going back to the Raiders and Sincere, I think Sincere is going to split with Amir Abdullah. He does. Their head coach Antonio Pierce did say he likes the way he runs. He's aggressive. He reminds him of the old days with the Giants. And the way they used to run. So I think they're going to give him his fair share. He'll probably get 15, 16, 17 carries maybe in this game.
So do I. Jacoby Myers is he was nursing an injury as well. I think he plays, but
Listen, it's whatever happens. Sincere, Jacoby Myers, Tucker. It's a Brock Bowers show.
of course I was about to say that. Brock Bowers is a must start. That's the stud right there of the stable. Brock Bowers, I mean, you can't argue with the fact that this man has been putting up monster numbers. He is the tight end one. He's up
We're
there.
going to be talking about him for years.
Yeah,
for years to come.
He gets the ball no matter what. So you know what? Fire that man up, and hopefully he can carry you into the playoffs. All right, with the Buccaneers, Mike Evans. Did I see correctly that Mike Evans was still nursing a little injury?
Listen, you don't get over that hammy. I mean,
Yeah.
soft tissue, like you said.
I think he plays.
I think he's going to play too.
I think he plays. He's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay, people. He's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. Don't
Running
get
back
nervous.
wise,
Ooh, I think Bucky took over. I think Bucky took over a couple weeks ago.
yes, he did.
So
But how effective is he going to be with the hip pointer, which everyone says he's going to play? But
I
we'll
think
see.
he does okay. I think Bucky's young man. He's what 22, 23 years old. Listen, they
Yes.
heal fast.
Yeah.
They heal fast. He's like
Yeah.
Wolverine out there. Okay, heals fast.
Well, we'll see. I hope.
I
Some
th-
people have stock in Bucky.
Like you.
yeah. Well, I'm not like you. I'm not
You
gonna
can.
talk about.
I'm
that
going to
guy.
talk about you. You have stock in Bucky Irvin. Everybody has stock in Bucky Irvin. You know what? I think. You know what? A friend of mine called me last week. Bucky Irvin or Brees Hall. It was tough. You know, I was trying to do analytic wise, give him some insight.
Oh, this is before he became doubtful.
Yes, before he came doubtful. So, right, before he became doubtful. Now, this week, I'm going to say Bucky because he's doubtful. But last week, you know, it was Brees Hall or Bucky Irvin. You know, I'm like, you really have to think about, you know, the run defense on the team he's playing, you know, all the analytics. So it was a tough decision. I
Oh,
said,
this was last week's.
last
game.
week's. I said
Okay,
you're gonna
all
have
right.
you're gonna have to make your decision kind of on your own. You know, obviously everything points towards Brees Hall, but it was if you started Brees Hall over Bucky, unfortunately, you know what, it was a wrong decision because he's splitting with Mr. White, and we all know that White gets the catches out the backfield. But now it's a changing of the guards. So now there's no doubt that Bucky took over. He's getting the catches, getting the runs, and it seems as though that Mr. White's gonna be phased out. He's gonna be phased out.
Not completely,
But he's gonna be-
I know what you're saying.
He's going to be phased out fantasy relevance wise. If you want a running back number 3 on a bye week, Mr. White's the guy to start.
Yes, White is now a flex player.
He's a flex player.
If you were to put
Right.
it in our terms,
Correct.
yes.
That's all for the wide receiver over there with the Buccaneers, Mr. Evans. All right, and Mr. Cade Otton, he hasn't really been when Mr. White was out the game. Cade Otton was tight end number 1. He didn't have a great game last week, so you know they're not really featuring him much, but they will. But if you're tight on tight ends, obviously you're starting Cade Otton, okay? But that's all you have with those two teams. All right, other wide receivers, McMillan doesn't get the ball. Palmer doesn't get the ball much.
No, you'll probably see Baker Mayfield
Yeah.
running the ball
And
more than anything else.
Correct. And they've been giving Sterling Shepard a little bit of ball, but you're not starting Sterling Shepard to get into your fantasy playoffs. So you could leave him on the bench. All right, you could leave him on the waiver wire. All right, next game, the Jaguars at the Titans. All right, in Tennessee, 21% chance of rain. Okay, 56 degrees. Again, good weather. The Titans. Will Levis, they're talking about starting here against the Jaguars. All right, they're talking about starting Will Levis over guys like Matthew Stafford. Yeah. David Carr.
I don't see it. I see the guy here who's going to be the star of the show is Pollard.
Pollard's going to be the star.
I
100%.
think they're just going to ride Pollard down, which is another reason why I don't think you need a big passing game against the Jaguars and Mac and Cheese Jones. That's why I said earlier I wouldn't start Ridley. I would go with Waddle over Ridley because I think it's going to be a Pollard show. They're not going to be down; they're going to be up. And Pollard usually takes controls of those.
Well,
control of those games.
He does. I think Mac and Cheese Jones is playing for his NFL life. I think so. I know he's terrible, but you know what? He's out there. This is time to prove it. Prove it. Show me and prove it game.
I understand what you're saying.
Last week,
we know what
we
Mac
know.
and Jones is.
But last week he was airing the ball out.
He's another Alabama quarterback.
Right.
That's
He was airing the ball out to Mr. Your boy
Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, he wasn't airing it out to him.
Washington.
He missed them
Well, you got Washington. He fed a lot last week. So
Yes.
Washington
because he can't throw the deep ball.
Washington is another one. Are you starting him in your
Listen, you
must
are
win?
you are taking a big leap of faith
Right.
if you're going because after one game you don't know what you're
Correct.
really going to get from him.
So if you guys are thinking about starting Washington, I'm saying go somewhere else because, like you said, one game you can't put it on one game at all.
And I think that's the reason why because the Titans do have a good defense, a solid defense, not one of the best, but they have a better secondary than they do up front. And because of that, I think that's where Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get shut down.
Yep.
Washington might give you 5 or 6 catches, but not for a lot of yards. And they're going to be all over Jones.
And then you have Mr. Evan Ingram. I think Ingram is going to get fed the ball. I think Evan Ingram leads the team this week with targets. I'm not saying the yardage, but I think he does lead the the week with targets.
Well, because the Titans, in my opinion, are going to be running the ball. This is what's going to enable Jacksonville to stay and make it competitive because they won't be coming from down a lot. So my thinking is ETN or Bigsby.
Yeah.
Bigsby comes back to play, but
I
ETN's
don't
going to
know.
have something to do with this game.
Yeah, I don't think I'm starting ATM in a must-win game. I'm sorry, he's let me down. Like we talked about
No,
this.
you're
His
right.
second year, he's let you down. And I said, don't draft this guy, and people still drafted him in the first 2 rounds. Okay, and he let you down again. Okay, so those are the guys we feel you should start and temper your expectation in a must-win game.
Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I said it again. Ridley. If I had better options, I would not start Ridley. But I mean, if you've got nothing going, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Again, 6 teams that I buy. You know, Ridley is a startable player.
And who decided to give 6 teams on a bye anyway? I mean, the fancy guys did this to us.
In the last week of the
Oh,
fantasy season,
That's
regular season,
terrible.
the NFL schedule makers do not care about
They don't.
fantasy.
We have to give him a call.
Yes, give him a call, Commission.
I will call him. Roger Goodell and
Petition.
I are going to talk.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to give him a call.
All right.
All right. Seattle at the Cardinals in the Arizona Dome. It's going to be nice weather again. So you got the Cardinals here. Must-win game. Cardinals are fighting for a playoff spot, which I like. I like those type of players because, you know, you need those fancy players because we have seen over the years where if you're 12-1 or whatever you are and you only got 2 losses, they tend to sit their players down week 15, week 16, week 17 to give them rest. Am I right?
Listen, you want competitive games going through. And that's where the
Right.
NFL did do their justice because they put a lot of
Yes,
division
sir.
games towards the end of the season. This is going to be one of them.
Yes.
Seahawks, Cardinals in the same division. It's a tight division.
Yep.
Everyone's playing to make a win
Yes,
and make it
sir.
to the playoffs. That means you know they're not going to sit their starters.
That's right, and that's exactly what you target. Okay, when you make your trades, when you make your
Yes,
trades for
that's
your
one of
playoff
your-
push, that's one of your little strategies where you got to target those teams that are trying to make the playoffs because you know they're going to play hard, and not going to sit their place. This game right here, Kyle Murray, he had a horrible week 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks in Seattle, but it was raining that day. Okay, so it's a month. Is it a bounce back game? Listen, I think you start Kyle Murray. I'm not going to sit here and say he's giving you 3 touchdown passes because for some reason, either he runs one in and throws for 1, okay, because he hasn't been featuring the deep ball at all. He features the intermediate passes to Trey McBride, okay, to Dortch, a little bit to Wilson, a lot to his running backs. And then once in a blue moon, he'll take his shot at Marvin Harrison Jr., who had 12 targets last week. But, you know, like you said,
Catchable targets. What are
That's
target
correct.
is great,
Right.
but are they catchable?
That's
targets?
what you said last week. He had 12 targets, but some of them weren't catchable. So you have to make sure that you can throw the ball in a radius of where this 6'4" God can catch the ball.
Oh, it sounds like you had another player on your team.
A lot of people have Marvin, and they're down on him. They're saying he is not a bust. It's Kyle Murray's not getting featuring. I mean, he needs to get him the
coaching.
ball. Okay,
It's coaching.
coaching as well.
Play calling.
Give him screens. Give him here. Give him there. But they're gonna feature Mr. Connor, a little bit of Trey Benson, a little bit of DeMarcado. All right. So the people to start here is gonna be Kyle Murray. Connor, obviously, the must start is Mr. Benson, and then you temper expectations.
McBride, you mean?
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
McBride. I apologize.
You're thinking about another guy.
I'm talking about McBride, and then you temper expectation, Marvin Harrison Jr., and pray that he throws in the ball in the end zone. Okay, pray. All right, and that's all you got for that team.
Yes, and on the Seahawks side,
Walker's injured.
yes. So it's Charbonnet,
Ugh.
running back wise. It's Jackson Smith and the Jigba, who's kind of taken over, and it is not for anything else except I really believe DK Metcalf is a little banged up.
He's
and
banged
injured.
up.
He's been fighting injuries all year, and I
Yeah.
think it's finally caught up to him. He's out there, he's gutting it out, but I think that's the reason why they're.
Do you
going
think
to the
Walker
Jigba.
plays or no?
If he does, you got to temper expectations on
Mm.
that. I mean, if you remember last week, Charbonnet was getting a lot of run.
And he got the ball in the red zone too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And,
So-
and they weren't featuring him with the passing. I was wondering why they weren't throwing the ball to Walker, dump offs, and come to find out he was a little injured, which we didn't know about.
But it's a must win for both teams, like you've
That's
already
correct.
said. So everyone's going to be out there gutting it
Yep.
out. How effective they're going to be, you don't know.
So-
it sucks because if you're a DK Metcalf owner, you know, you throw him out there, but you're not throwing him out there with confidence.
No. So if a must-win game and you have someone else look better, but I hate to say that because DK Metcalf, but you're gonna have to temper your expectation with DK Metcalf because
He's, in my opinion, he's in the same boat as Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
So you're throwing him out there, but you know you're hoping that he gets you something good.
Yep. All right. The next game is the Buffalo Bills at the Rams. It's going to be at the Rams. It's in a dome, so it's going to be good to go. The kicking's going to be good. Tyler Bass, you're going to fire Tyler Bass. Don't have to worry.
Ride that kick into the playoffs.
You don't have to worry about the weather there. The Rams. I got a problem with Matthew Stafford. I really do. My problem is this: he only features two guys. Again,
And when you have those two guys, you feature them.
well, because you have stock invested in Puka Nacua, so do I. What I'm saying is, you know, I have stock in Kyron Williams. Okay, my only problem is against the Buffalo Bills. I feel they're going to be down. Buffalo's going to control the clock. They're going to run the ball. They've been running the ball really effectively throughout the year. Okay, it seems as though Buffalo switched the gears a little bit, and they're not a passing team. You know, it seems as though they're a ground and pound type of team, and they utilize Allen when you have to, and if you don't have to,
and apparently they had to in the second half of last week's game because the first half was all James Cook,
everything.
and then the second half was all Allen.
That's all they got. But it was snowing, so
Yes, it was
it
bad weather
snowing.
conditions,
It's bad
yes.
weather. So with the Rams, obviously Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Are you tempering your expectation with Cooper Kupp? I mean, what are we doing here?
No, actually, I'm looking forward to this game, and I hope it's as high scoring as I think it's going to be.
I don't think so. I'm
The
ho-
Bills are going to get their points. The question is, can the Rams keep up? And if they can, it's going to be a good game,
Yeah. Well,
a good fantasy game.
I hope so because you know, hopefully they start throwing.
On paper, it might be a blowout, or in real life,
Right.
but in fantasy, you could, you know, Kupp and Nakua might get you a lot of points.
What about the running back Kyron Williams? I mean,
I think his points would have to come in the passing game.
exactly. That's my point to you. They don't utilize him in the passing game.
Yeah.
They just don't. My point to you is Stafford is always looking for, when he drops back, he's looking for Nakua, Kupp, and you got the running backs wide open in the flat, and he won't throw it to him.
I think that's going to have to be more of a play. Again, we're going to go back to coaching and play calling.
Mhm.
I think usually he looks at his running backs coming out of the backfield as his last read of his progression. And by that time, the line's already breaking down,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
he's on his back. Maybe they can change that up and make that their first read or the second read. But again, you said it yourself. You got Cooper and Nakua out there. Well, you know, they should be your first and second reads. You're throwing the ball downfield. The whole point is to get downfield, not to dump the ball off.
Okay.
I know you're a Karen owner, and I know you want to see
Let's
it.
go to the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Josh Allen is a stud, is a must start. Shakir is their number one wide receiver. I don't know if Keon Coleman plays.
I
Mr.
read somewhere with Shakir that they kind of compared him to Wes Welker.
Yeah, well,
He was the guy that's going to get you 15 fantasy points a game every week, and if he's lucky enough to get into the end zone, you got a nice, great game. For
so
him.
that being said, I thought about that. That's a good point, and I did think about that. When they do get into the red zone, guess what? Shakir is not featured.
No.
So that's the reason why I am not playing Shakir this week.
I'm sorry, but you have to start him.
You know.
Again, you're talking about. I would play Shakir over Addison this week.
All right, would you start Shakir over Elijah Moore?
Yes.
Would you start him over Calvin Ridley?
Yes.
Would
He's more consistent, and he's proven it all year. Just take a look at his stats. He's consistently getting you between 12 and 15 points a game. And as a wide receiver, a low-end wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3, that's what you're looking for. And consistency is what you're looking for. You said it all along.
I know. Again, this
It's
is
not a sexy name. I got that.
no. I'm not worried.
And you're
about-
looking for
I'm
touchdowns.
I'm not worried about sexy. You know, I'm worried. You know, can we as fantasy owners can we get a touchdown? That's not too much to ask. You know, some owners get 3 touchdowns a game, and they just sit back. Can we just get one? You know, can we get 1 touchdown? That's all we ask for, and a couple yards. All right.
Listen, you start Shakir, you don't sit him.
All right. You heard it from the co-commissioner. He wants to start Shakir. Dalton Kincaid. I don't think Kincaid plays. Dawson Knox. Mr. Knox. I think you do not start him. You temper expectations. The Rams linebackers are pretty decent. They have a rookie out there named Omar Speights, and they have the other guy, Rosenboom, or can't remember his last name. He's a pretty decent linebacker, and they have a good pass rush. The Rams have a rookie, I believe 2 of them on the defensive line, a good pass rush. So what does that mean? That means Josh Allen is going to be running for yardage. Okay, he knows that. The moment he drops back, he's taking off. So Josh Allen is the man this week. All right, he's gonna get you into the fancy playoffs.
Oh
okay?
yeah, there's no doubt about
No
your
doubt.
starting Josh Allen. That's not even a
course.
no-brainer. We don't even have to say anything about that.
Yeah.
But I will say this though. Just check the status of Kincaid. I know the commish said he thinks he's gonna play. Or he thinks he's going to sit. But,
Yeah.
but he did practice on a limited basis 3 days in a row. So there's always a chance that he does play. But please check right before the game.
Yeah. And Mr. Cook, you fire up. If you have a streamer, no running backs out there. If you have a Kenny Walker or someone like that, and you have no one else to start, and you had to make tough decisions to drop people like a Kareem, I'm going to use myself like a Kareem Hunt or Edwards, and you have no one else, and people on buys, because 6 teams, like you keep saying, are on buys, which they are. If you have Ray Davis on your bench and you have Cook, you're going to have to start Ray Davis.
So let me ask you this. You know, we're talking about 6 teams on the bye, as I've constantly mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you put Cooper and Matt Collins in the equation over here?
I'm not.
You don't even look at them
I'm
at
not
all?
starting Matt Collins. I'm not starting Matt Collins.
Matt Collins is going to be barefoot
But,
on there catching a touchdown.
I'm not starting Matt Collins. And Cooper, I don't know. It's almost, I feel as though Cooper is almost the same effect as a Deontay Johnson. They traded for him so no one else can get him. That's how I feel. They don't use him.
No.
They don't use him. You got this guy who's a stud. He was a stud last year. Remember how he did last year? He did a lot of people dirty, and whoever had him was fantastic. But I think they traded for him just to block somebody else, almost like what we fantasy owners do. We pick up guys just to pick up just so that you don't get them. Yeah. Strategy. I don't start those guys. I don't start Cooper, and I don't start Matt Collins, in my opinion.
Let's go next.
All right, the Bears at the 49ers.
The Bears.
The Bears. You got the 49ers. Brock Purdy's playing. They're spiraling out of control. Brock Purdy, I think you start against the Bears. I think he's a viable starter here to get you into the fantasy playoffs. You temper expectations with Deebo Samuels. Jawan Jennings is the guy that you got to take a look at, because you know what? No snow here or anything like. The weather conditions are pretty good. It's gonna be 66 degrees, so it's gonna be fantastic weather. Which means that the new horse in the stable, the individual that we talked about, who needs no introduction because everyone spent all their fat money, all the number 1 waiver wire picks, are Mr. Isaac Guerrero. We talked about him in the pre-draft when he got drafted to the 49ers, a guy we talked about, all that speed coming out of what? Louisville, I believe?
Yes, he did.
Came out of Louisville.
He was a Wisconsin guy. He went to Louisville 1 year, and then he is a one-cut guy. Did a freak job over in the combine.
Yep.
And he's a perfect. You and I have talked about him from preseason on.
Yep.
He went to the perfect location because the system of running the ball, that zone blocking, one-cut scheme, is perfect for him.
But I wanted him from Miami, and they drafted Jalen Wright. I said it. I wanted Guerrero in the worst way. I did.
Yes, you did. But you know what, Commish? Take a look at it. You would have been just as frustrated as you are with
I know.
Jalen Wright.
But you know what? If the injuries didn't occur with the 49ers, Guerrero would never have got a shot. He's a guy in a couple of years down the road, but here he is, and he has his shot. All right. What type of points? Obviously, you are starting him if you're trying to get in. He might be if they utilize him like Christian McCaffrey. If
Yes, but we again. Let's go back.
they're gonna split.
No. Let's go back to the tape. Right.
Yeah.
The tape that we saw was that he was proficient at catching the ball out of the backfield, more so than Jordan Mason is.
Yes, he
Whereas
is.
Jordan Mason was getting those runs, he was getting those carries like Christian did.
Mm-hmm.
Guerrendo's has the capability of catching the ball also, which isn't a game that Jordan Mason didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see a scenario where they're going to use him just like they did Christian McCaffrey. You might have a crazy stat game from Guerrero if things work the way everyone thinks they will.
I agree.
And then the other question I have is, who's this backup?
Well, you're gonna have
Patrick Taylor, right?
I think it's Patrick Taylor because Abinakande.
Yeah,
He doesn't
that
know
was a young guy,
but he
who's
doesn't
actually
know
a
the
year-
system.
I know he's just there for right now. As far as I'm concerned, he's just backup and insurance to have a running back.
Yeah.
But Israel Abanikanda from the Jets, who they for whatever reason they drafted 2 rookie running backs, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. The Jets did. But Abanikanda has been sitting there, a rookie out of Pitt last year, who had an injury, which is the reason why he was on IR for a long time. But they never really gave him a chance. And it's ironic because Brees Hall's going through this injury now.
Yeah, he would have got a
and
shot.
He would have got a shot.
Yep, we
So
talked about that
the
as
Jets
well.
are just dysfunctional as an organization. But that's not the point of this conversation. The point is that the 49ers have someone good. I don't think they necessarily miss a beat because, like you said, Gavindo's been in the system. He's been there all year. He did get some playing time when Jordan was Mason was hurt. So it's going to be more seamless for him to just jump right in.
Yeah, I agree. Again, Debo, we thought they were going to feature Debo last week. They didn't feature him. Mr. Kittle, they feature Mr. Kittle, but the Bears' defense is not that bad at all. But I still think Kittle is going to be the focal point in the middle of the
That
offense.
hurts. I'm going against a Kittle owner
Yeah,
this week.
I think so. Jennings, obviously, and let me tell you, I think Jennings, you do fire him up this week because with good weather in San Francisco. I think Jennings still is the number one receiver out there with Kittle number 2, second read, or vice versa. Kittle 1 read, Jennings 2 read, and they're going to utilize Garendo. Now with the Bears, Mr. Williams. He's been playing well. He's been throwing up 30 points a game. You do start Mr. Williams with confidence if you need to make your fantasy push or make the fantasy playoffs. He runs around a lot, but that's okay. When he runs around, he sees things. All right. The ageless one.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is being featured with this man. So Keenan Allen, you start and you fire him up. Mr. Moore is nursing an injury.
A quad injury.
Yeah, he's nursing an injury.
Just to say that if he does play the third wide receiver of that group, you might as well. He's an afterthought.
Yeah.
And if DJ Moore does not play, I think you have to fire up Odunze and expect something from him. But Keenan Allen is still the focal point.
Yeah, he's still the focal point. Mr. Cole Kmet is nothing. You don't start him unless that's all you got. And the running backs.
Yeah,
All right, Swift is hurt.
Right.
And Roshan is out. So Mr. Homer, all right, Travis Homer.
Yeah.
If you have nothing else, okay, you're gonna have to throw him in there, all right. If you have nothing else and you're fighting for a playoff spot, it is what it is. He's a starting running back. Hopefully he gets play here, play there. But I think if they get in the red zone, I think it might be Mr. Williams running the ball in, or some type of pick play.
I will say this because I have stock in Odunze in my league in Dynasty, and so I've been watching him. He does get red zone targets, but again, they're not catchable red zone targets. But to me, that just means that if they're absent a running game this week, you might see Odunze with more red zone targets.
That's fair. All right, next game is gonna be Chargers at the Chiefs. Wow. So the Chiefs, how lucky are they going to get? I mean, are they going to keep getting lucky? I don't think with a coached hardball team they're going to get as lucky. So they're going to have to beat them out. Just going to have to beat them out flat out. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'd like to say that the Chiefs at home are not going to have any problems.
No.
But they've looked horrible the last 2 weeks against the Raiders and again, you could say that they're trap games. You're playing Carolina and you're playing the Raiders, 2 teams they're not playing for anything.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a letdown. Chargers are a little different. It's a conference game, division game. They always play each other tough. But the Chiefs' run defense and them being at home, and I think they want to wrap up home field.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to come out to play and maybe keep the Chargers down. Lad McConkey on the Chargers is nursing that shoulder injury. Quentin Johnson can't catch a cold, and their running game is
obsolete. Yeah, sure
and
is.
the only chance they have is to throw to their running backs, which they don't like to do, but they're going to have to because Gus Edwards isn't going to get anywhere against that tough Chiefs run defense. So.
No way. So the ones over there, and Will Disley might get a little bit of burn here. Lad McConkey, obviously, if he's we know he's not healthy, but if he's in there, he's the guy to start over there with the Chargers. Herbert. I got to say, you got to temper your expectations a little bit with Herbert, okay? You really do.
Especially if McConkey's out.
Yeah.
I don't know who he would throw the ball to.
Yeah, Mr. Palmer, but you're not starting Palmer in your must-win game to get into the playoffs. No one trusted him at all. He didn't get you here. He's not going to get you there. He didn't get you here. He's not going to get you there.
No, and it's sad to say, but if you don't have anyone else, I mean, if you're looking to start a Charger to help you win, if Lad McConkey doesn't play, unfortunately for me to say this is, Disley's the only option you have, and he had 0 points last week.
So that's it. Now with the Chiefs, obviously, the Chargers defense is pretty good. It's pretty good. Pacheco is obviously he's splitting with Kareem Hunt. However, I think it might be maybe 60-40. In my opinion, I think they feature him just a little bit more, not a lot, just a little bit more. But us Pacheco owners, you Pacheco owners, this is what we want. If you're in the playoffs and you have Pacheco, you know what? I think he progresses into the playoffs. But if you have Pacheco and you're trying to make the playoffs, you're gonna sweat it out a little bit, like myself. All right. So the wide receiver over there, I don't know.
The Chiefs have played down to every opponent that they've played.
I'm not trusting the wide receivers out there. I'm not. Are you trusting Hopkins in your must-win game? If you don't have anyone, but you're trusting him.
Listen, you're throwing Hopkins out there. You're throwing Kelsey out there. You're throwing Pacheco out there. You're throwing Mahomes out there.
Worthy, you're sitting down if you're a must-win game. That's correct.
Noah Gray might be the name to watch.
Yeah, someone to watch. But then again, they got some decent linebackers out there, so we'll see how Noah Gray does. All right, and also it's 52 degrees, 3% chance of rain, so it's gonna be nice over there in KC. No
Which
snow.
is unusual.
It is unusual.
It should be bitter cold.
I agree, and snowing. Bring in the snow. I love the snow. All right, last game on the docket that we're going to talk about are the Bengals at the Cowboys. Guess what?
We don't care about this game. Let's just go home.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
This is horrible. I mean, Monday night, 8:15, Monday night.
Can't they flex this game
this
out?
Is horrible.
Who wants to watch this? This garbage.
I'm going to sleep.
I'll be going to bed early that night.
This is horrible. So let's talk about the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's nursing an injury. If he plays, obviously you got to start him. Jesus, everyone knows CeeDee Lamb is your stud, or he is your stud. But is he going to fall on the floor again and sit on the sidelines? You can't afford that. You cannot afford that at all. Okay, I seen people pick up his backup, but even if you put his backup in there, nothing's gonna happen.
Nothing inspires confidence in the Cowboys.
It's the truth. However, if CeeDee Lamb with that little injury, the one you do fire up is Mr. Ferguson because he's back. The tight end, Mr. Ferguson, is back. And Rico Dodell had a good last week, but you know what? No. I think he's gonna have a decent week because the Bengals stink.
I was gonna say that
they stink.
Logan Wilson went out with a knee injury. He's out for the year. Last week he didn't play. Najee Harris and Pittsburgh had a field day running the ball up the middle. Rico Dodell, if you fantasy-wise, fire him up with a lot of confidence. Yep. I have more confidence in Rico Dodell than I do CeeDee Lamb this week.
I don't like to hear that.
I know, but
that's terrible.
I think as the Cowboys, what are you looking to do? You're looking to win?
You always got to win on Monday night.
Who knows? They might not be looking to win.
But they want Gently.
Well, who knows if they go to Genty?
The word on it?
They'll screw that one up, too.
I don't know about that. We'll see. Because Jerry Jones gave up
GM
duties.
Can we trade GMs?
No.
Can we? They should be
Jones,
Owners should be able to be fired.
Jones gave up his GM responsibilities, but we all know he picks them anyway.
Exactly. Right. He's like Woody Johnson.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Bengals. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a must start. Jamar Chase is a must start. T. Higgins is a must start. Chase is a must start. That's, in my opinion, you stream
Brown, yes.
and you stream Gesicki. The problem with streaming Gesicki is the Bengals are up. They don't utilize Gesicki. They're going to utilize Mr. Brown, Chase Brown. Okay, obviously, Jamar Chase is going to get his plays, and Higgins is going to get his plays.
Big Jamar Chase game.
Yeah,
I could see that.
My friend, that is week number 14 to get into your fantasy playoffs.
Yes.
How we feel. We gave a lot of insight how we feel. Obviously, it's not written in gospel. It's not written in stone. But, it's something that, we have.
Oh, yeah. It's written in stone, damn it.
That we have to juggle, that you guys have to juggle. And it's not easy sometimes. But you know what? That's what it's all about. That's what makes it so much fun. So I appreciate you coming out to the Cove today, talking about week number 14. Hopefully we'll be back next week talking about the fantasy playoffs, all right? And it must wins, or you win or you go home. So I appreciate you guys listening.
Good luck to all your fantasy games.
Yes, good luck
this week. I hope everyone gets a chance to get in the tournament, experience it. All you need is a chip in a chair.
That's it, a chip in a chair. Good luck to you guys. Unless you're playing myself or the co-commissioner, you guys have a good night. You guys have a good week. And let's get week 14 on. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye.